Shout out to Travis, who's dropped $10 into our YouTube super chat. Says, buy some beers next week, Jespo and Johnny. Appreciate that, Travis. Travis is just being nice because he knows that he's cracked the roster for the flamethrower, and he just goes up one side of me and down the other. Travis, I'm saying that in love, and he sends his email in love too. But let's get to it, Johnny. This is how we wrap up our podcasting week every week on YouTube as well, courtesy of the DQs of Northwest Edmonton and Sherwood Park. We ask you to give us your hot takes, to fire up your flamethrowers. And that's exactly what you've done, inspired by our interview with Sophie Grégoire Trudeau about her brand new book. If you didn't catch the episode, I encourage you to do so this week. I actually thought it was a great conversation. Not everybody agrees, including Robyn, who says, Sophie Grégoire Trudeau's comments on ADHD made me rage. ADHD is being diagnosed more frequently now, but devices, screen time doesn't cause ADHD. Whether a person's living their life surrounded by electronics or practicing yoga in a field of wildflowers their entire day, they could still have ADHD. Devices are just seen as a problem because ADHD brains love to be rewarded with dopamine, and electronics activate that brain. You know what else releases dopamine? Exercise. But electronics are viewed as problematic when it's the reduction of physical activity and the resulting increase in negative ADHD symptoms that's caused more parents and individuals to seek a diagnosis. She says, I'm a mom that was diagnosed with ADHD later in life, holds a master's degree focused on ADHD, and has a daughter with ADHD. So for my last point of frustration, it ticks me off when people like Ms. Grégoire Trudeau praise people like Gabor Mate, who continually link trauma to ADHD. I didn't develop ADHD from trauma, neither did my kid. And by applauding those who correlate the two, Ms. Grégoire Trudeau is preventing people from speaking up about ADHD because they fear they'll be judged. And then Robyn makes a guest suggestion, and Robyn, we've already followed up on it, so thanks for that. How about this one from Sara, who says, I just wanted to write a short note regarding Ms. Grégoire Trudeau's perspective on ADHD. Your connection between screen time is based on inconclusive evidence. While there may be a correlation with excessive screen time in the development of ADHD, there's no research that proves causation, right? If you're a working parent with a child who seemingly required endless amounts of stimulation, even after a bike ride, trip to the playground, soccer game, wrestling match on the floor, the kid was still buzzing about, wouldn't you be more likely to pop on the TV versus a parent who has a child that goes to color in the corner, right? Parents of kids with ADHD, says Sara, deal with an inordinate amount of stigma around their parenting choices. Comments are incessantly made about how much access to electronics they give their kids, how much time they spend with their kids outside, and what food they're feeding their kids. Nobody seems to think it's important to mention this disorder is highly heritable, with some studies citing rates as high as a 90% chance of passing it on to your kid if you also have it. Does that sound like it's caused by sitting with the iPad? She says, by all means, limit access to electronics for your family. We know there's negative effects there, but please don't attribute cause of ADHD that have yet to be definitively proven by research. She says, by the way, I listened to every episode and I've learned so much. That from Sara. Thank you, Sara. What about this one from Travis? Here it is. Travis says, Jespo, having witnessed the alarming proliferation of health disinformation over the past few years, I've become very discouraged, bitter, and angry. And when Sophie appeared on your show, speaking authoritatively on a number of health issues, it really struck a nerve. He says, Ms. Grégoire Trudeau is a former TV host with a degree in communications, a former partner to the sitting prime minister, and not a mental health professional, fertility expert, or ADHD researcher. Travis says, I found it disappointing that you chose to platform her and let her speak authoritatively on these matters for a number of reasons. Number one, she's not a trained expert recognized by any professional college and doesn't retain any certification from any recognized institution in any of the fields. Number two, as a result of platforming such an individual, you, Ryan, are responsible for whatever information she shares being spread widely and quickly. And because she's not an expert, she'll share actively false, harmful, and context-devoid information, and that's a big problem. And number three, Ryan, you're shirking of responsibility. Well, it's a talk show. People talk. He says, I wish I was able to wash my hands like that. A handy little escape hatch available at any time. He says, I guess I just really wanted you to be better now that you're free from corporate terrestrial radio. He then says, I'm sorry if this came across as harsh, and on an unrelated note, have a great weekend off. Well, Travis, it's called the flamethrower, and we don't mind. We ask for it, we receive it. And this one from Karen, who's a raging granny who happened to catch our episode with the Spittin Chiclets. And she says, the conversation around major junior hockey, Jespo, college hockey, there were comments made on these guys going on end-of-the-year trips and trying to get laid and going to American colleges on a full-ride scholarship and and that being 4 years of drinking and partying and girls. And after the Hockey Canada scandal and the sexual assault charges against those players, you'd think that attitudes would shift. I mean, Jespo, you said these podcasters have millions of downloads. I'm sure that rising young hockey stars among them, and this is, what they're being told to expect. College hockey should be about playing hockey, getting an education, not getting wasted and getting laid. The boys will be boys. Entitled attitude will never change unless the people they look up to, coaches, parents, and podcasters, change the conversation. From Karen, a raging granny. We appreciate every single submission to the flamethrower to talk at RyanJesperson.com. Proudly presented every week on Real Talk by the DQs in Palisades, Namao, Newcastle, Westmount, and Baseline Road. We're going to be back at it on Monday, July 8th, and we'll see you then.